Morning everyone, welcome to another new day. Hope you had a good night's rest last night. For our devotional this morning, we're not going to move from the chapter that we were in yesterday, 1 Peter chapter 1. We were thinking of verse 7. If you just go on down that chapter to verse number 19, you'll find our text for this morning. But perhaps we'll begin by looking at verse number 18. Verse number 18 and reading into verse 19. Peter says, "For as much that you were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as a lamb without blemish and without spot." So today we're thinking of that lovely little phrase, the precious blood of Christ. We've thought about Christ being precious to us. We've thought about how faith is precious because it unites us to Christ. And this morning we're thinking about the blood of Christ being precious. Now we have to understand, of course, that when the Bible speaks about the blood of Christ, it isn't speaking literally of Christ's blood, although certainly the shedding of his actual blood was part and parcel of his work. When it talks about the blood of Christ in the Bible, it is speaking about the redemptive work of Christ. And that was, if you like, brought together in the culmination of that work, which was his crucifixion. And at the cross, he shed his blood for our sins. So why is the blood of Christ precious? Well, it's precious because it was the only price that God would accept in order for sin to be paid for. Silver would not have purchased it. Gold would not have purchased it. All the precious stones on earth, all the precious metals gathered together, all of this, if it was presented to God, would not be enough to pay for your sin and for my sin. The Bible tells us without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins. The Bible also tells us that the blood of bulls and goats could never take away sin. And for centuries, the sacrificial system of the Old Testament was what the people looked to and depended upon for forgiveness. And God did grant forgiveness, but not because the blood of bulls and goats and animals was shed, but rather because that shed blood was pointing forward to the ultimate sacrifice that would be made. And it was only in the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate shedding of blood in the person of Jesus Christ, that those previous sacrifices were acceptable. God knew that his son was coming. He knew that his son would go to the cross. He knew there his son would lay down his life. And on the cross, as the blood of Christ flowed from those wounds that he was given, and as he died, our penalty was paid. I don't know whether any of you have ever had a fine that you couldn't pay. If someone came and paid it for you, you would feel so indebted to them, especially if it was a large fine. Well, it was a penalty that we had to pay, the penalty for sin. And the payment was death. And Jesus Christ, through the shedding of his blood, through the giving of his life, paid that penalty for us. And that being the case, we regard the blood of Christ, the work of redemption, as something that to us is precious. He himself is precious. His death for us is precious. Our faith that unites us to him is precious. Isn't it wonderful to have so many precious things as God's children? The world looks to other things as being precious. Paintings, jewellery, antiques. Friends, there is nothing more precious than that which God gives us in his Son, in the gift of faith, and in the death of Christ and his precious blood. May this be an encouragement to you as you go into the day. God bless you.